Y'all still Bills, what's the deal, man? We back, it's top of the week. We heading to where it is that we heading to do what we do, to earn a living for the familiar, man. But peep game, I want to talk about something, right? And that is Diego Pacheco versus Lele Sadjo, man. Good win for Diego Pacheco, and a statement performance for Lele Sadjo, bro. I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't. I've only seen Lele Sadjo fight once. It was like 2 fights ago. I watched this fight with Cullen. I forget how to. That him and Pacheco look like they're around about the same height. You know, wiry dude. You know, well, not wiry, but real. You know, blessed with height, vertically blessed. You dig? Sadjo was my height, dog. Like doing damage up there, man. So good performance by Lele, man. Good performance by Sadjo, man. But I don't know how to feel about Diego Pacheco, man. I think Pacheco, he did good using his feet, using his angles and everything in the first couple of rounds. You know, working behind his straight shots, and even his hooks were long as well. He doesn't, he's not compact. He doesn't have to. He's not always compact with his hooks because he doesn't have to be. You dig? Like I said, he's blessed with height. He's vertically blessed. So he's just, doing a good job of keeping Sadjo at range or whatever. And I think with Sadjo, he was just, he wasn't as active in them early, in them first 3 rounds or whatever, because I got to find a way to cut, break the distance. I got to find a way to close the distance. I got to find a way to, get a feel of this dude, get a gauge of this dude's power, timing, and everything before I really start to, turn up the pressure on him. And that's honestly what he did. And in the 4th round, you really start to see him. You really start to see him put punches together. You start to see him try for big shots, and he was having success. He was having success, man. The big looping, right hands over the top, the body shots or whatever, man. And he started coming on. I think Pacheco won that round, but I do think with him being able to get into that rhythm in that round, that led to him being able to win the 5th round. That led to him winning the 5th round, winning the 6th round. It was either the 5th or the 6th. It was one of the two. I feel like the 7th round was a bit of a swing round, and you could have went either way. And I feel like Pacheco won, not Pacheco, but Sadjo won like what the 8th and the 9th round, because he scored a knockdown in the 8th round, and just maybe even the 10th round, and he squeezed. Pacheco squeezed out the last 2 to get him the victory, man. But one thing I want to say about Pacheco, man, I don't know how, like, I'm in a weird space with Pacheco, right? Because I haven't seen him act, now granted, you stepping up in opposition, I understand that, but I haven't seen him act like this, and, he's a boxer puncher, so he knows how to, he knows how to handle himself in the pocket. He knows how to handle himself in the pocket, man. These past few fights they've been dull, and they've kind of been sloppy, man. When someone get Steven Nelson in particular, when shorter dudes are able to close the distance on him, it's like he goes into a panic. He goes into a panic where he's wrapping up as opposed to letting his hands go in the exchanges. The fight gets real sloppy and boring. And I don't want that for this dude, because I think, even if he does decide to fight like that, then, he's still going to be a formidable foe in the division because he's just a good fighter. But he has so much push going behind him and hype behind him. I would hate to see it dissipate this much, because they were booing him in Cali, dog. It wasn't L.A., but nonetheless, they was booing him because of how sloppy the fight got. I'm like, yo, why, you can't be that uncomfortable in the pocket like that, bro. You can't be. You can't be. And I know, I don't know if I think it was Moro who was saying something about his feet. He's not as fast on his feet. I think he doesn't look as fast on his feet because he's fighting, shorter dudes who are naturally faster on their feet. This ain't a 100-meter dash or a 200-meter dash where you can, just over a lengthy period of time, 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Not 15, but 19 seconds, 10, or 9 seconds. You're able to use your striding for to eventually get you to pull away on some Usain Bolt shit. So this is a small 20-foot ring. now where he could get away with that maybe at like heavyweight or cruiserweight, he may not, he's not going to look as fast on his feet in front of someone like a Lele Sadjo. He's just not. He's just not. But he doesn't have bad feet. I don't think he has bad feet, but it does, he can stand to work on his feet. He could stand to work on his, his footing. He definitely could do that. He definitely could do that, man. But it was like, I don't want that for Pacheco, man. I don't want that for Pacheco, man. I don't know, man. He wraps up, he initiates the clinches, bro, and it dissipates the energy of the fight. Like, man, what the fuck is this nigga doing? Really? Are you really gonna wrap him up? But you also got to credit, and well, I don't want to say credit because for me to say you got to credit Lele Sadjo, that would be me saying that it was just only this fight. When it's been his past 3 fights, even with Trevor McCumbee, man, it was like he was just staying on the outside, like he was comfortable. There's no second gear. It's no second gear, bro. He hasn't had a spectacular performance since he knocked out Sulecki. And that was with a body shot, which means, bro, you know how to get leverage on that shot, man. Like, you laying body shots up close, forehead to forehead on the motherfucker, man. Why are you acting all, why are you going into a panic like that? And you've been fighting consistently on a higher level than the Lele Sadjo. So that right there I'm not saying that you should have went in there and been able to knock him out. What I'm saying is you shouldn't have went in there and tried to muddy the waters. Every time he would get, but also in that regard, you gotta credit Sadjo because Sadjo, he's a shorter dude and how he was closing the distance. He's a lot better on his feet. He's a lot more defensively responsible than led to believe. Just defense ain't just about slipping the shots and rolling up under the shots, man. It's about, your guard, how tight your guard is. And when Diego Pacheco would put them uppercuts up the middle, he'd catch him on the glove. And when he would throw them body shots, you would think, until we see the replay, you would think that they would land, but you look at the replay, he's catching them on the elbow. He was doing good work in there defensively, man. Like Sadjo he let it, he let his presence be known in the division. Him and Mobili is going to be a real violent fight if they ever fought. They were supposed to fight. Shit fell through though, but if they ever fight, that's going to be a real ignorant fight. I'm telling you right now. That's going to be an ignorant ass fight. Because goddamn, because they fight alike. They fight a lot alike. I think they're both they're both Cameroonian. Both my peoples, you dig? So, good fight for both of them, man. Good fight for both of them. I don't know how I feel about Diego Pacheco, and you did get dropped too. It is fighting. You're fighting, other world-class fighters. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get dropped. You're going to get something on your body broken. Something that's going to happen to you that the average individual is incapable of being able to do to you. But I don't know how I feel about him going into, like, when he really starts stepping up into, well, he's already a contender. He has the interim. But when you get in there and you fighting dudes, like, I don't know how I feel about him versus Hamza Shiraz, bro. I don't. Now, I don't think not Mobili, but I don't think Berlanga is as good as Sadjo. I don't think he is, man, but Mobili, and I would have loved to see that fight as well, because those two should have been fought each other, man. They should have been fought each other. Oh no, we're not doing that. They should have been fought each other, man. But I'm just looking at how Lele was able to close distance on Pacheco, and it's not like he's throwing in combination. He's winging that big right hand over the top, looking to hit you with something dramatic. Mobili puts them together, and I think he's faster on his feet, and his hands are faster. I think Sadjo may be a little bit better defensively. I don't think he leaves himself open to be countered as much as Mobili does, but Mobili's chin is proven. Mobili's chin is proven. His gas tank is proven. That's a dangerous fight for someone like a Pacheco. That's a dangerous fight for someone like Pacheco. And then when you look at Pacheco in front of someone like a Hamza Shiraz, I think it's a real dope fight. But I just think Shiraz is the hand speed. His hands are faster. His hands are faster, and I think he's better in the pocket. He puts punches together faster, and I just think he's better in the pocket. I think Pacheco is a bigger puncher than that of a Hamza Shiraz, but I think Shiraz is a little bit more dimensions to his game than Diego Pacheco. I think Pacheco, when he wants to pivot, because he pivots good, but he just doesn't do it enough. He knows how to cut those angles and get to the side of you, man. He does, but he just doesn't do it consistently. And I think that's what they was really talking about in the fight on Saturday. Like, you know, you can do it, but you're not doing it enough. You're not doing it enough. Which, if we being real, he shouldn't have to. When you fighting someone like a Sadjo or a Mobili or someone that much shorter than you, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should be fast enough on your feet to take those half steps back, and your hand and feet coordination. You should be able to put a shot down the middle to really get that dude to hold ground. For you should be able to hold ground at the middle of the ring. You should be able to do that, and occasionally pivot out when he decides that he wants to start breaking distance. Well, I guess he should do that because these fighters are going to close distance. Only time you don't really need to pivot like that is when you're in front of someone like a Trevor McCumbee who just cannot close the distance without stepping too far into the fray and smothering. That's the only time you shouldn't do that, when you're in front of somebody like that. But when you are in front of somebody like a Sadjo, you do need to close distance. So I will, recant that statement. I'll recant that statement. But yeah, man, I don't know how I feel about Pacheco after this performance. And it's not just this performance. It's his last three all the performances this year that he had have not been stellar performances. Him versus Steven Nelson was a good outing. It was like, yo, that shit was hype. But it just shouldn't have went like that because Nelson is my height. Now, granted, you got to give it to shorter fighters who are, they're savvy enough to, they don't just come down the line. It's dimensions in their game. They change levels. They get their head off of the line. The guard is tight and all that. That's that's technical capabilities on behalf of, shorter dudes who are fighting dudes who are significantly taller than him, man. Diego Pacheco is 6'4". That dude's gonna at least he's going to end his career as a cruiserweight. He's going to end his career as a cruiserweight. That's too much height. That's too much height. And he's young too. That dude is in his mid-20s. He's young. So I'm just saying, man. I wasn't impressed with the performance I saw from Pacheco. The Steven Nelson fight was fun, but the Trevor McCumbee fight and then this fight, it was like, bro, come on, man. We can't have this. We can't have this. We can't have this. You dig? I do think he's competition for everybody in the division. That would even include Canelo if they decided to fight. He's game for everybody. He's game for everybody. It was just in this particular fight, I'm like, yo, this is wild. This is wild, man. There's no reason why Steven Nelson and Sadjo should be having the same, much better success than that of a Trevor McCumbee, because Trevor McCumbee is only a 2 to 3 inch height differential between y'all. Steven Nelson and Sadjo is my height, dog. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it is gonna get a little bit shaky for Pacheco as he, when he really steps up. It's like, now it's official. Now it's official. You fighting. This is a title eliminator right here. You dig? The winner of this fight gets so and so. It's gonna get sketchy, man. But that's what we here for. That's what we here for. And I'm not saying that he can't beat those dudes. But I do think his offense does go a little complete after a while. When you get in his wheelhouse, you get in his chest, he does seem to show signs of frustration and just being uncomfortable and uneasiness, and he'll start wrapping you up. And if you can do that enough, and I don't get how they not calling taking points from him. It's like, yo, bro, just damn. It's that Klitschko shit. Even Floyd Mayweather shit and Devin Haney shit. And I think he's more exciting than all them dudes. You should be able to put shots down the middle. And but the thing was, he started doing that later on in the fight. But I think he respected Sadjo's power a little bit more than everybody else. And, he was stronger than he expected. And because his arms are so much longer than Sadjo's, shots would get to the target faster. And so he would have those moments where he would open up, but then it's like, yo, what am I doing, man? I'm gonna sit and duck right here if I stay, if I stay right here. So I get it, but man, I understand it, but you're still, you're still coming into your own. And I don't want your, your energy and everything and your hype behind you to dissipate because you're fighting like this. I wasn't too overjoyed with his performance in his last fight, in his fight before that as well. I dug Lele's performance though. I just, I need to see a little bit more. I would like to see, I don't need to see, I ain't nobody. I would like to see a little bit more from Diego Pacheco in his next fight. That's all I got to say, man. But nonetheless, real good win. And I like in statement performance from Sadjo, man. I'm looking forward to seeing both of these dudes fight again. And I hope that we get Shiraz versus Pacheco and Sadjo versus Mabili, man. So that's all I got to say about it, man. I'll get with y'all later. Y'all stay righteous until then. Deuces.